police officer who's great gentleman, shot right here in the throat. Probably won't be able to speak again. But he was brave and he shot the other guy and they ended up getting him. And you saw the scene where his friend took him to a hospital and dumped him down on the sidewalk. The whole thing was crazy. But why would anybody do to our country what these Democrats have done? And honestly, we can never forget it. We can never forget it.
President Trump reacting to a sanctuary city crime in New York. 2 illegals allegedly shot a Border Patrol officer in the face during a botched robbery. The officers expected to pull through. The suspects arrested and facing federal charges. DHS says one of the fiends has a rap sheet that is a mile long. Big surprise. Previously charged with grand larceny, assault, kidnapping, and witness intimidation. Morning Crow's big takeaway from that story: sanctuary backers, they mean well.
You understand the purpose behind sanctuary cities, and you understand that it's motivated by people with all of the best intentions, but the practical effect of that leads often to crimes like this. Again, it's a minority of those that have come to this country illegally.
What a butthead. Seriously, Harold, whenever somebody when somebody does something terrible, they always say, well, they meant well. People who mean well always are the most destructive people because they assume meaning well is the only criteria for the action, not whether it works or causes more damage. Sanctuary city, doesn't matter if it means well. Look what's happening. I blame you, Harold.
No, I mean, so look, I think I take Joe at his word, and I know you're coming at it just in a different way here. I think that police officers and police chiefs around the country that are in cities that have had more accommodating policies, and we call them sanctuary cities, they should work with Mr. Holman and the White House and federal officials to help them identify the worst and to help not only identify them, but help find them. Now, where there's difference of opinion is when you get beneath the violent offenders, the gangbangers, the drug dealers that we talk about. That's when you have a difference of opinion.
Why are these people still here?
Let me say this, but that's where you have a difference of opinion around the country. The hierarchy of deportation, we can probably have one issue here when regarding what we do with people who are gardeners, people who own businesses and small businesses across this city and around the country.
But how did this guy still be here? Rap sheet.
Right, no, he should be. I couldn't agree with you 100% more. That's why where I differ with some in my party, police chiefs and mayors in every big town ought to cooperate and work with Mr. Holman on the thing that he said he wanted to do from the outset of his time in this administration, which is to find the worst offenders, which is to find the people who are members of gangs, and let's arrest them. And I don't mind deporting the daylights out of them. I'm part of the 70% of America that says that those people must go. Where we have a difference, and I'm not alone, I'm in the majority on this now, is how do you determine who are people who are nonviolent, who've been here for years, who are working, who've become a part of American life? How do you figure out how they should be deported? I have not heard the answer that I agree with yet on that.
They let them in.
Who is that?
They let them in. Joe Biden let them in. He let in 20.
Why are we responsible?
They've been here for years.
This guy, both of these guys came in
under
under Joe Biden. 20 million unvetted people came into the country. They flooded the zone. We have all of the footage we could play over and over again. And they said, well, we don't really care. That doesn't even count the hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of gotaways and bad guys who have criminal records who didn't want to be caught. These sanctuary cities are responsible for this. These guys and the local law enforcement arresting them know that they're here illegally because they don't have identification. They have false documents. They know repeatedly when they arrest them that they are here illegally committing heinous crimes.
They should be
so if you don't let them in the first place, without vetting, you don't have this problem. And B, if you would turn them over to federal law enforcement officials, you wouldn't have this problem. This is fake empathy. This is fake saying we have to be humane. It was not humane to open the border when you have millions of women and children being lost and sex trafficked and forced to work in farms and marijuana plants in California. How is that humane? And it all comes down to the broken windows theory of illegal immigration being ignored. Well, if you just let some people come in and they just break the law with no permission coming into the country, that's okay. But it leads to this. It leads to countless criminals prowling the streets, committing crimes, and they end up murdering people, raping them, and shooting law enforcement officers And the truth is it can all be prevented. It's a matter of will. And the only people standing in the way are Democrats in these cities who are refusing to work with immigration law enforcement to take them away.
You know, Sandra, this story is not being reported anywhere but here. If this had been reversed, that it was an illegal that had been shot by border, this would be used, just like every other hoax, as a reason for not doing this. Now we have this, we serve up on a platter these horrible crimes, and it does nothing to the opposition.
Because in these sanctuary cities, you have sanctuary city judges who are turning over criminal, illegal aliens to walk freely on the streets. Nowhere more clear than Chicago, Harold, a city that you know very well, where over the weekend ICE arrested this 52-year-old criminal alien who was concealing and had severely abused the body of a missing woman since March, a young woman with a bright future ahead of her. This was Waukegan, Illinois, North Shore of Chicago. She was in a storage container soaking in bleach. It's a horrific story. This man should have never walked freely. A sanctuary city judge turned him over to walk freely in the streets to commit this heinous crime. There is an alderman in the city of Chicago that I have on our program frequently, Raymond Lopez, who's a Democrat in that city. And every time I interview him, are you still a Democrat? And every time he's wavering because he just can't believe how far, you know what the ordinance actually is, the exact wording of the sanctuary city status of Chicago is? It's the welcoming city ordinance. They don't call themselves sanctuary city. It's the welcoming ordinance, right? Well, clearly that young woman whose life was taken and stored in a storage container in that man's yard was not welcome.
Jesse, you get the sense that it doesn't matter if it happens to an officer. If there's anybody in law enforcement, they had it coming. They don't get any attention. They don't get any media attention. If it was one of those thugs, oh, it would be everywhere.
Yeah, they called these guys cowards for masking their faces because they're getting doxxed and their families are under a lot of threats. There's a phrase I've coined, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and this is what you're seeing here. They want to protect people who are crime victims. Let's say Enrique, he's an illegal alien, and some guy, his neighbor, shoots up his vehicle, right? He won't call 911 because he's afraid of getting deported. That's what a sanctuary city policy is supposed to protect. But any judge and any cop and detective says they're not icing cooperating witnesses. They're not icing crime victims. So what the sanctuary policy actually does, it harbors the criminal aliens and the non-criminal aliens into one big pot that ICE isn't allowed to touch. One of these guys, 3 arrests in New York City. 1 arrest in Massachusetts, was never deported. The other guy, 4 arrests in New York City. And all they have to do is when they put him in jail, say, yep, we're going to hold him here until you guys pick him up. So when Harold says we want worst first, no, they don't. Because you can take care of the worst first if you guys nix the sanctuary city policy. There are 600,000 criminal aliens roaming the country right now, Tom Homan says. And all they want to do is go after these guys. There's 1.4 million who've already had due process, and a judge says they're removable. And they're high on the list, too. But the Democrats are making it impossible to remove these people.
You all have mentioned my name twice, so here's what I would recommend. Say you're right and I'm wrong, and I've never at any time said I'm a believer or a protector of sanctuary cities. All we have to do to get beyond these Democrats, whom I believe many of them are wrong, is for the Congress and the Senate to pass a bill that says that, listen to me one sec, Katie, that says that anyone whose status is under consideration to be a member and to be a citizen of this country, if you commit any crime, you will be deported. It then will overstep and usurp every state and local law, because if they have that on their record, they will be deported regardless of the crime. We don't have
Harold,
that law.
You can deport anyone already who's illegal in this country. You don't need a new federal law. There's already sanctuary city policies, and you already have laws on the books.
But here, I know it's uncomfortable to hear, because if Democrats were in charge, I call balls and strikes on my party all the time. Your party's in charge. Pass it in the Congress, pass it in the Senate. I'll be there at the White House if you take me to watch the president sign it, because then it would say whatever these mayors and these governors in blue states are doing that you don't like, anyone that does it, they are deported right when they are convicted of that crime, period. I don't care what the crime is.
All right.
But you can't blame me.
I don't
just don't put words in my mouth. I'm not
protecting. I don't think they need the law. I love you, but I don't believe it.
I'm not for sanctuary
I love
cities. and
you,
I think
but I
any-
don't believe you. God, I had $1 for
You
every
sound like
time
my wife.
Yeah. All right, ahead. The Dumb and Dumber guy wants Trump voters to lose money.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.